The viral advent of the aeroplane, made famous by the Wright brothers and their photographically captured experiments, launched a new way of transportation that continues on to this day. One could say it all started when Orville and Wilbur Wright successfully launched a homemade glider off the ground on December 17, 1903. It was Orville's first ever flight and was recorded as the first successfully controlled flight up to that point in history. These increasingly improved experiments very directly, to my surprise, helped fuel known aviation trendsetter Amelia Earhart's ambition, career, and consequently, many others who dared themselves to test the skies and go beyond themselves, almost literally, making a dent in human history while they were at it. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy on December 22, 1963, sparked a lot of unrest in the overall American cultural zeitgeist. Optimistic trust in our government became that much more controversial, this time on a nationwide level. Consequently, hard-hitting journalism became popular again, as it once was for a different purpose in the 1930s by such films as Front Page Woman in 1935 starring Bette Davis, and His Girl Friday starring Cary Grant in 1940. And perhaps especially from the best-selling 1974 exposé by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward that inspired the film All the President's Men, starring viral stars Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman in 1976, green journalism became a glamorized career pursuit for many. Suddenly, everyone wanted to be a hard-hitting journalist, uncovering the truth behind all kinds of government cover-ups and scandals. By the time I entered the scene in 2013, it was much more quaint of a pursuit. In 1955, a meticulously researched account on the Titanic disaster on April 15, 1912, by a meticulously detailed lawyer, writer, copywriter, as well as author Walter Lord, also sparked a film of the same name 3 years later, and suddenly, Titanic had returned to the conscious of so many worldwide. In other words, it became a viral hit. I think I can be confident in saying that without it, James Cameron's epic 1997 blockbuster of the same event in history wouldn't exist. Throughout history, viral moments, whether specifically curated or not, have started trends that have gone and went with the wind. Titanic 1997 seemed to have had something for everyone, and it became a cultural phenomenon. As it were, and as it turned out, I was one of the many taken in by the multifaceted adrenaline rush that no doubt helped define the eccentric and quirky, if not a little grungy, 1990s. The film, as it were, and as it turned out, was so deeply embedded into the fabric of my soul that it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to be able to see the movie from a critically objective point of view, like so many who weren't as young and impressionable when they experienced it have been able to do. Eventually, I was able to appreciate it, while also addressing the questionable and outright comical aspects of the otherwise meticulously crafted, as well as meticulously researched epic. Enter the Mary. My dad is most definitely the reason I was able to love and appreciate sushi, and not just the raw fish kind, from a very early age. We would go to this very uniquely and very 90s sushi bar near our home in Orange County, California, with a very large white square tiled floor at its entrance, a turtle pond, and the CRTest of CRT televisions mounted in almost precarious bulkiness on the wall above the turtle pond. There was a sweeping section of travel pamphlets and brochures on a corner wall that I reveled in each time we entered the place. And one day, there it was. An advertisement for a Titanic exhibit held aboard the equally as famous ocean liner 22 years Titanic Senior, the RMS, or rather, Hotel Queen Mary. I vividly remember showing it to Daddy and explaining that they had original pieces from the Titanic to be displayed on this equally as fascinating ship. The romantic, not of this time mystique the advertising didn't really have to do much to evoke was not lost on me either. And so, we went. This was the summer of 1998, and I was 7 years old. held in the very 1970s engine space originally gutted for an underwater sea exhibit of a different sort, seeing original pieces of Titanic, and at such an early and impressionable age, was awe-inspiring. I vividly remember my shocking first impressions of the Mary. I had to adjust my eyesight and my consequent sensibility. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. Admittedly, I've described this to a certain extent at least in other videos. She was so animated, like something out of an old cartoon. A huge, colorful, gargantuanly oversized toy. So vibrant, so different, so very different. I remember how much I wanted to be on a sinking ship, no doubt because of what a thrilling experience I perceived it to be. My dad assured me that no, I did not want to be on a sinking ship, and the higher we climbed those lofty decks, the more the idea effectively terrified me. It was halfway up the stairs to the bridge, well over 100 feet above ground level, that I verbally acknowledged that Dad was right. I did not want to be aboard a sinking ship. And I don't know how I moved from that spot and was able to even make it on the bridge. But I daydreamed while aboard those fateful first visits, Dad and I sailing the open seas aboard this very different experience. The mere idea of being on something floating that could move all on its own amazed my young and impressionable mind, and I can't help but admit that the association with Titanic, the viral sensation that launched so many of us into being able to appreciate such historical floating phenomenon and classy British elegance contemporized with the less snobby sensibility accompanying it, rendered. And I'm surprised that I was able to almost instantly disassociate and appreciate the Queen Mary for her own unique comforting charm and grandeur. Looking back, I can't help but find myself surprised too growing up at just how often I was asked why I liked boats, quote unquote, so much by mostly my contemporaries, but also by some adult figures as well. One such parent even asked if I was finally over ships and seeking new interests. I don't know if it was because it's such a niche subject, or because I was so apparently obsessed that it took over my entire personality. What was a yet diagnosed autistic Asperger's child to do? I would quickly correct my peers, making sure they knew that it was ships I like so much, not boats. Too much work goes into a vessel of such a size to be downplayed and condescended to like that. It did, however, also make me think, why did I like ships so much? After visiting the Titanic Museum on board the Queen Mary, that fateful visit in the summer of 1998, why haven't they had another one since, by the way? Dad and I were both enchanted by the experience so much that he declared we'd make it a yearly summer visit in August, close to the beginning of the new school year, so as to make the start of the new year more bearable. Well, one such year, the summer entering 5th grade, if I'm not mistaken, as the bright orange LA sun cast a warm glow highlighting the 10 million rivets, something magical struck me. Maybe it was the mood. Maybe it was the accumulation of all the components of the experience that specific day. What I visually remember is viewing the port side of the ship on our way out and taking it all in. How in awe I was by her size and strength, charm and historical character, juxtaposing the thick industrial steel plating with its bulging rivets, holding all that steel together, creating an artfully whimsical and elegant design with opulent interiors, simply astounded me. And the fact that it was so big, especially to someone so young and impressionable, and small in a certain sense, and, autistic as well, I was hooked. In 5th grade, I looked a little more into it and found out that Queen Mary had a sister ship, the Queen Elizabeth. And what charming character she had all her own. There used to be so many of them, as it turned out, and each with their own unique grandeur and idiosyncrasies as reflected through the builders, the designers, the people, and the time period from which they debuted onto the scene. They really are each time capsules of the time and place they came from. And that's what it is. Ocean liners are as much a miracle as aeroplanes and electricity. Big steel structures held together by rivets or welded together with a blowtorch. When Brunel came up with the Great Eastern and Great Western, people thought he was crazy for trying to make iron of all things float. And now we take it for granted. They're made by man, and yet they're bigger than life, and so independent, self-sufficient, and portable. They are literally cities at sea, skyscrapers put on their side and made to go just about anywhere. That the sea can take them, at least. But unlike skyscrapers, they also have a sentient quality about them. The classic liner too can withstand the harshest of conditions, and the Atlantic especially can be the most aggressive of them all. When I look at the Mary, as she is so affectionately called, it's hard to believe she went through such conditions unharmed. There she is, like the sea never even touched her, floating in Long Beach, surrounded by rocks. As if giant waves never reached all the way up to her bridge, well over 100 feet above the waterline, breaking many inch-thick windows designed specifically for such conditions, and destroying many fittings and furniture pieces alike in the heat of the storm. In C.W. Winter's book about the experience working as crew aboard the very ship, not boat, early on in the ship's career, he described the reason for classifying ships as she's. The ship is not only your workplace and your home, but also your security. In fact, it is your very life. Ashore, if you do not like the building you work in or live in, you may leave it at any time, day or night, at will. At sea, you have no such choice. The ship restrains you, controls you, mothers you. She may upset you, but she gives you that priceless commodity, life, and never lets you forget it. Is this why a ship is invariably referred to as she? Because they are like mothers, cradling those inside in the harshest of life circumstances with a strong but tender fist. The ship quite literally rocks us to sleep. Personally, I've come to find that another reason for my interest in ships is found in the nature of their design. They are made, as previously stated, to be self-sufficient and portable. For better or for worse, they liken to my own escapist and adventurous nature. When you think about it, they are rugged individualists in a way. They face storms of all kinds and treacherous terrain alone. Now, one can argue, the passengers and crew make it anything but a lonely experience. And ships do communicate with each other, be it by flag, light, telegraph, radio, GPS, reminding us that we are not an island. Still, their independent adventuring reflects the self-sufficient spirit in all of us. Also, there's just something about being on a moving vessel. The physics behind being on a moving object going anywhere between 30 to 300 miles per hour still astounds me. There I am, still and pondering as the ship creates wake the size of 30-foot waves while traveling at speeds that can break another ship in half, if in the way, as has tragically happened throughout history. And the idea that all this luxury and opulence can be rendered in a setting that once was only deemed for the brave, daring, and outright out of their minds. And they are more than just objects. They're not like buildings. They have a face. They have a shape that puts them somewhere between an ocean creature and a human being. When we see them scrapped or rusting away above and walkable, or below and virtually unreachable, it is a strange, eerie, and morbid scene. And now you know there was a reason for the day I became a lover of the great liners, and that it changed me, in every way that a person can be changed. And I have more than a picture, but a lasting reminder through preserved ships like the Queen Mary, the QE2, the Rotterdam, the Nomadic. Subscribe for more content like this. Happy New Year! Fair seas and fine sunsets. What is your favorite ocean liner? What got you interested in ships? Or if you're not, do you see now why we love them so very much? Have you visited the Queen Mary, QE2, Rotterdam, Nomadic, or the SS United States before she was so painfully taken away from us?